What's up, guys? Kevin Cage here. Hope all is well. This is going to be rapid fire news for the first week of October 2020. Let's get into it. So to kick things off, before I go over every single article that I have pulled up, I wanted to share by status some quotes right here. And all of these individuals below come from obviously big financial backgrounds. Some were previous executives of banks as well. And they have all agreed and said it is coming regarding digitalization and mentioning DLT, meaning blockchain, which is just a subset, one portion. Really, DLT is the parent of blockchain. So you know what this means? Cryptocurrency adoption for those assets that survive and they will thrive, and the others that don't will simply disappear. Right here, Christine Lagarde, currently the president of the ECB, European Central Bank, formerly the director of the IMF. We have Christopher Giancarlo, former chairman of the CFTC, representing Ripple now today with their law firm, and is also an advisor for Ripple, has made the argument that XRP is not a security. Notice, if it is not a security, it is most likely what? A commodity, perhaps some type of new version of a utility token, settlement token, exchange token, you name it. So we will simply see. Next, Brian Brooks, acting comptroller of the currency, has name-dropped Ripple and XRP several times before, was the former chief legal officer of Coinbase, leaving his $1 million plus salary to work for the government and take a better position for more power. And of course, very pro-regulation for crypto assets, and has been basically dropping that we should be getting more and more commentary as the year ends. Caitlin Long, former director of Morgan Stanley, also big fan of a variety of crypto assets, and I believe that she is heavily involved in the state of Wyoming as well. Dan Moorhead of Pantera Capital. This gentleman, very bullish on crypto assets. Obviously, though, you have to understand they have vested interests. They want to shill cryptocurrency just like us because we want our assets to appreciate in value. He's had, I believe, this gentleman, perhaps I'm wrong, but I know it's Pantera Capital related. A gentleman had huge price predictions for Bitcoin, but obviously him and I have very different views regarding that because obviously, you know, my opinion's on proof of work. Next, Tim Draper. Billionaire, of course. TimDraper.crypto is his cryptocurrency domain on Unstoppable Domains, has a background in big investments with his family regarding Skype as well, and is another big investor, and has also seized millions of dollars of Bitcoin from Mt. Gox back in the day. All right, so in recent news, Chinese stock exchanges progress with blockchain. Once again, validation. We are seeing all of this. Bitcoin's trying to work with, outside of the system, and we are seeing DLT being adopted day in and day out. Just like yesterday's video that I released, we had the Swiss Parliament releasing pro-regulation or positive regulation for DLT specifically. Security tokenization, asset fractionalization, you know the benefits. The Shanghai Stock Exchange blockchain, it received the China Securities Regulatory Commission's approval, the CSRC. A big part of its role involves integrating with the supervisory systems. Leveraging blockchain, we can see the typical benefits, obviously today, time consuming, solve these business processes faster, reconciliations, cost reduction, etc. You get the narrative. Improving transparency, capital markets is what I'm focused on. It makes me think of R3. Just like in the US with the NASDAQ partnered with, obviously, R3. So we'll keep an eye on that and watch further developments there. Next, DJ Peter Voss sharing Ripple deal with British company guavapay. Right here, guavapay, a company which provides payment services to the UK customers, has reached an agreement with Ripple. Now they are officially part of RippleNet, global payment network, to expand its international reach. Right here in the announcement published on the official website of guavapay Global Partners, and their president said that he's excited about the international developments that will be provided by joining RippleNet. Notice they have a wide range of services and obviously a bunch of benefits that will be, realized per joining RippleNet. 30 local currencies, including the British pound, euro, US dollar, in more than 100 countries. Lastly, right here, first-class services aimed for customers aiming to make money transfer possible on a global scale by reaching the local payment systems of each country with this partnership. Very telling there. Next, wanted to share this. So this is shared by Michael, Val5 Links on Twitter. Thank you, sir. Nyum, which is a Ripple partner, is expanding into the Middle East. Now, we're going to touch on them in the next slide as well. Notice, fintech across the Middle East is also set to grow at a compounded annual growth rate, CAGR, of 30% and expected to raise over $2 billion in VC funding by 2020. Now, we've talked about the CAGR, the CAGR rates for e-commerce as well, and obviously cross-border payments in total and remittance. So this is something to pay attention to. XRP overall is going into a market that, there's perhaps a lot of saturation, but there is tons and tons of opportunity, tons of market share that is just sitting there, and tons of friction that can be solved. And yes, they have the war chest. Now, I am Legion sharing this. This was a digital asset investor video going over Saudi Arabia, and this is very telling. Now, remember, 2018 on Ripple's website, they shared the National Commercial Bank of Saudi Arabia joins RippleNet. Notice, according to the World Bank, $308 million were sent into the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. $37 billion in remittances were sent from the country in 2016. So quite a lot of opportunity in this National Commercial Bank of Saudi Arabia joins RippleNet. Now, who else is quite bullish, or at least very integrated and supportive of RippleNet? SAMA, the Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority. Now I'm going to show you this quick clip. This is Dilip Rao, formerly at Ripple. Now he is retired. He's an advisor for FlashFX, which is also RippleNet. And he's basically saying that when they worked with RippleNet, they got a group of banks, like 15 banks. They were going to do a sandbox environment, kind of test everything. But when they got it all set up, they said, we don't even need the sandbox. We're good to go. And they like it. So just listen to this, and I'll probably give some commentary as well.
Sure. And already, for example, last month we had the central bank in Saudi Arabia.
So remember, Ripple's working with 40 to 50 central banks globally. They've been educating regulators, educating the IMF, BIS, World Bank for quite some time on both CBDCs, digital currency, DLT overall, and improving the infrastructure of the correspondent banking network. This is not conspiracy, this is fact. Everything else, though, in terms of price valuation in the future, how fast, how slow it'll do that, that is all speculation. So obviously do your own research, believe what you wish, and I'll do the same.
Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority. So that's a project that I kicked off with them, where they brought about 15 banks to the table, with a deep dive on Ripple technology, both for the banks and for SAMA. And their initial concern was, should we put a sandbox around this technology? But once their regulators got, into the nitty-gritty, with us and their banks.
So Ripple working with the regulators directly in these central banks, the largest banks in the world, going step by step.
How the bank's going to implement it, they said, no, we don't think there's a need for a sandbox. Go for it.
There's not even a need for a sandbox. Just go for it.
And if you want to use it, use it. Financial ecosystem.
Awesome. So if you want to use it, use it. The option to use it is there. That is what I mean when I say level playing field. ODL enabled. All right. Next, Michael Vale, 5 links, sharing these next few articles I want to go over. So right here, I know many of you have seen this. So Ripple to launch a trading platform to provide real-time access to crypto markets. A new job listing noticed that there is they're hiring a senior software engineer for liquidity who will build an enterprise-grade distributed platform that provides real-time access to crypto markets. Pay close attention to this, obviously talking about XRP scalability and ODL, and we will see what comes of this. Next, KuCoin CEO says exchange hack suspect has been found, and there's been $204 million recovered thus far. Absolutely crazy. The trading platform has recovered the $204 million in crypto assets since October 1st. The exchange executive says the hacking suspect has been found, and the police are officially involved in order to take action. I would love to know what comes of this and what happens to this gentleman or group that was involved. And also right here, really interesting. Further, the blockchain analysis firm Elliptic, and we know Elliptic has talked about XRP in the past, published a report that said the hacker spent over $17 million on a DEX, or on decentralized exchange platforms. And Elliptic noted that all the hacker swaps on Tokenion, Uniswap, and the Kyber network can still be traced. Interesting. Remember back in the day with, obviously the Silk Road saying Bitcoin was so anonymous. I do tend to agree with a lot of people that think maybe Bitcoin is part of a psyop, and it's funny because that narrative came, in the late 2000s, 2013, 2012, saying, oh yeah, the criminals use Bitcoin, and maybe criminal enterprises started using Bitcoin. And to be honest, it's extremely traceable and transparent. The FBI can follow you effortlessly. And it's almost like they wanted people to use Bitcoin, and then they can hammer down with all of that. Same thing with all of this cashless society nonsense that's occurring. We have basically less people using cash today. We're going more digital. Think how the government can oversee the future economy of DLT when all of these businesses, like local businesses in areas, are closed down. Then how is this fast food restaurant still staying in business? Who is cooking the books? Are they, laundering money on the side? It becomes a lot more visible and easier to hammer down on crime. So yes, you and I, we're trying to make a buck during this transfer of wealth, and believe me, there's going to be plenty of opportunity. There's going to be wins and losses along the way. But there's going to be a lot of rights and obviously liberties taken away because it's all about control, in my opinion. All right. Next, so this is an article, central bank cryptocurrency could incite social unrest, Deutsche Bank. Remember, Deutsche Bank is one of the biggest banks in the world, and I just want to go through a few things that they're saying with CBDCs. We know that these banks have been experimenting with CBDCs for quite some time. This is way before 2017 when the majority of us got involved in crypto assets. The writing is on the wall, and simply sharing this. So we have the CIO special report. German banking heavyweight Deutsche Bank observed that CBDCs could put users in a sweet spot with payments. Individuals stand to experience faster monetary transactions without third-party interference, counterparty risk, for example, failure of one or more parties involved in a transaction. And the cool thing about, DLT and even just XRP overall, you can make direct pathways between them. Today, instead of going through, 5 different intermediaries and partners just to get to your destination in that other country of that bank account, you can go right from, the Argentine peso right to the Thai baht, the Thailand's native currency, rather than going through 5 steps and paying fees all along the way. All these intermediaries, these middlemen, today, to an extent, even in the world of real estate and, all these taxes and fees, these fees are nothing but parasites. And that is what I mean by disintermediation, getting rid of the middlemen and making it more efficient, saving more money for the end user, also saving more money for the businesses that are providing the service. And once one business is using, say, ODL and utilizing XRP more and more and more, and XRP is becoming more liquid, it's going to force the other businesses to use XRP or something like that so that they can offer these same low fees to stay relevant in business. This is another example of a snowball effect, that flywheel effect, pulling everything toward it just like a black hole. All right. So Deutsche Bank went as far as to drive transactions. Notice, depending on the CBDC technology used, money transfers could be anonymous and completely decentralized, as ironically old-fashioned cash transactions are now. All right, and then lastly right here, so talking about CBDCs, what they should be, the best example of them, and obviously they have to be efficient and cash-like to overcome skepticism amongst potential users. And I really like this. The currency, and it's funny because all of this is an example of, I think XRP could hit all of these boxes too. And yes, I'm aware they're talking about CBDCs directly, just having fun, all right? So the currency should serve as a medium of exchange. XRP, a measurement of value, XRP, and a store of value, XRP. Now remember, anything that is a store of value on its own, in my opinion, is completely worthless. Anything can be a store of value. I really do think Bitcoin's going to have to switch their narrative, because what stops Ethereum from becoming a store of value? Specifically, if it does have hundreds of thousands of projects being built up on top of it, what does Bitcoin have besides heavy fees, latency, overall uncertainty? It's susceptible to 51% attacks. Makes no sense, and that just does not seem like an asset that will be adopted with banks. Could it be integrated with banks? Yeah, potentially. So can anything. But I'm talking about true adoption and utility. You tell me. Universal access has to be guaranteed. Interesting. Remember, XRPL open sourced as well, so this is very interesting. And then over to make a difference and add to the existing system. Just think, pipes connected to the existing system and facilitate the execution of cross-border transactions in a straightforward and cost-efficient fashion. Crazy. Remember that we just saw even Algorand, they sent, what was it, a $1 billion transaction now? Last time I talked about $1 million transaction, it was like a 1 billion, not dollar, euro transaction, and the fees were measured in the pennies. Absolutely crazy. All right, next, just a heads up for anybody in the XRP community, do not fall for the XRP scams existing out there. Any ads before this video that are telling you to send XRP there and get more in return, that is a scam. Same concept with this. I know everybody wants to claim their Spark tokens because you own XRP and you can get free tokens for doing so. This snapshot will be taken in December. And keep in mind, never, never, never send your XRP to anyone. Don't listen to this. This is merely a phishing scam going around that tricks XRP holders, you and I, into sending our tokens to a fake tool for claiming Spark tokens. Please be safe. Do not. If you are uncertain, you can ask me directly. You can ask on Twitter. Just please be safe, people. It is not worth it. All right, next, also wanted to cover this. Ripple Labs granted new patent for executing smart contracts, in the details right here. So the invention of former Ripple CTO, Stephen Thomas, now he's over at Coil, big on Codius, big on, Coil, obviously web monetization, streaming of payments, all of that, has been granted a patent by the USPTO. You can click here actually, and this was on September 29th, and you can read more about it. Very, very cool as well. You can just read about the application number and see the little diagrams here. And let me see. So we have Evan Schwartz, we have Stephen Thomas. Look, Ripple Luxembourg. Remember, we know Luxembourg, Liechtenstein. We know Chris Larson's involvement with those countries as well. And then Ripple Labs. All right. So then where were we? The invention is credited to former CTO and Coil CEO Stephen Thomas and Evan Schwartz, the co-creator of ILP Interledger Protocol for blockchain agnostic crypto payments, allowing any and all crypto assets. People act like, the truth is, Ripple never bashes, Ethereum or any other assets. They're simply building protocols and ecosystems to allow everything to survive, because they're welcoming everything, because they're confident they can be one of the winners, one of the many winners on a level playing field. Any of these Bitcoin maxis that try to attack XRP and say it's centralized or any of that garbage, it doesn't really matter your opinion, because it's going to be based off of cold hard math. Who can save money from the bottom line and basically solve problems for their customers best? And in terms of cross-border payments and transactions, I think XRP will be a clear winner in this space. Maybe regarding the borderless economy, Elgrand will be doing well. Maybe for oracles, potentially Chainlink. And yes, they have competition with Zap, with Band protocol, with all of these protocols. There's going to be many, many systems that work and interoperate. QNT, HBAR, VChain, ADA. I could go on and on and on. Don't be upset if I didn't name your protocol or asset. All right. So a system for executing smart contracts. Remember the talks about these smart oracles as well, getting accurate data. And this is very important as well. Okay. We'll speed through this. So the system described in the patent application allows so-called smart oracles to execute smart contracts. Very interesting. Next, Martin Volk sharing this: 75 crypto exchanges dead in the year 2020. More will follow. This is on news.bitcoin.com. Really interesting points in this article if you guys want to check it out yourselves. Essentially just talking about the comparison between sites. What are the challenges? What are the hurdles? What is, the cause for all of this? Is it saturation? Is it regulation? What is occurring to basically make this environment so competitive? Notice, competition is pushing out crypto exchanges. Obviously, the ones that are surviving are getting stronger and stronger and stronger, such as Coinbase, such as any other exchanges that are kicking butt lately. And remember, when they go public, they're going to have even more power. Notice there's primarily 3 groups of competitors responsible for the demise of the centralized crypto exchanges. So now there's basically a fight against centralized crypto exchanges. As DEXs, decentralized exchanges, come about, we have derivative exchanges and even these derivative platforms and non-crypto alternatives. Decentralized exchanges push centralized exchanges out. Okay, obviously DEXs, decentralized exchanges, typically have servers spread across the globe. Notice decentralized, it's distributed, making them less susceptible to hacker attacks. Okay, so it's a little more protected. They typically also offer lower fees, sometimes even close to zero. So it's making sense. It's obviously allowing users to migrate to other ecosystems depending on their preference. I still think that there's going to be centralized exchanges that exist, and along with decentralized, or more so distributed to an extent. So let's actually watch as these centralized exchanges that we know today, will they become more distributed? Will they have a variety of nodes? Will they try to spread it out? What are they doing to mitigate their overall security risks? All right. They're also able to handle more trading volume and are often more attractive than centralized crypto exchanges. Why is it important to have more trading volume? Because then there's much lower spreads, tighter spreads, I should say, and it's going to be more cost effective for the whales that are trading, big traders. If you're buying and selling, $1,000, it's not a big deal. But if you are day trading and you have trading bots and algorithms working for you, and you are moving, hundreds of thousands of dollars on a daily basis, if not millions, for some of these whales, this matters. Trading volume will be big because they want to be able to get in and out of the market quickly when they want to. derivatives exchanges see growth. We can also talk about all of the margin trading occurring. We can talk about BitMEX with the CFTC hammering down after them with all this derivative nonsense that's occurring. It's honestly, we are in very, very uncertain times in terms of some projects. We have scams, we have hacks. Please make sure you're protected with cold storage some way, or use hot wallets, do whatever you got to do. But please be safe. Trust nobody in this ecosystem. Do not take pictures of your passwords. I talk about a lot of security best practices. You're never fully safe, but you can always just keep trying to add layers, just like an onion. All right? Non-crypto alternatives becoming more available. I really like this article, really well written. Regulations making it impossible for new exchanges to even survive and adhere to the guidelines, obviously because they want to stay relevant and they need to do something to get an edge on the existing players that have dominant market share. It's just making it incredibly, incredibly difficult. Central Bank in Netherlands demanded that every crypto business should register with them. It can get really, really strict. And honestly, when there's too much regulation, like the fear is in the US, it will stifle innovation. That is why Ripple, that is why a variety of groups have been writing letters saying that the innovation has to take place here. We need regulation. We need clarity to allow us to know what we can and cannot do. Otherwise, the innovation will go elsewhere. It will occur in other countries. We know that Asia and parts of Asia like Japan and Singapore, they are much more progressive with their thinking and adoption and open-mindedness of cryptocurrency. I mean, for God's sake, we even talked about the Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority talking about getting a sandbox together. Ripple's working with the regulators. And then they said, no, we don't need a sandbox. You're good to go. Like, if you want to use it, you can use it. That is the type of open-mindedness we need. Now, the question is this. Is this all a charade? Is it all a show? Are they rolling something out much bigger? Does XRP play even just a minute role in this ecosystem? You tell me. I just wanted to share some of this information and give my thoughts. And then last but not least, what I think is a complete BS in this, I think, whatever your belief is, guys, I think this is all an act. 2 fraud allegations against Ripple dropped as the XRP lawsuit moves forward. This is so silly. It's stringing people along. The everyday investors are paying attention to this. And it might be really arrogant of me to think this, but this is just my thought, and teach their own. And I could be wrong. But I think this is just all an act, all a distraction. I mean, we have Stuart Alderati. He's general counsel to Ripple. He has 30 plus years of experience. We have Craig Phillips, buddies with Steve Mnuchin of the United States government, background with BlackRock, Goldman Sachs, all of these guys. If you really think that Ripple is not well connected, has been going through the checklist of securities and what it can and cannot do, I think that they're just going to be paying a few fines, just like any of these banks, just like any of these cryptocurrencies, for any, accidental practices they may have done in the past, and they are going to be fine. Like, I wholeheartedly believe that. But remember, it doesn't matter what I believe. It only matters what happens. So, I'll be biting my tongue and we'll watch what happens. The argument is this. Remember in 2017, we say, oh yeah, well, crypto's not going to move until there's institutional money. And then we go, oh, there's no institutional money until we get regulation. And now we're saying, well, there's not going to be any institutional money until there's regulation and custody. Well, we have all of these things and these dominoes falling into place. We have PolySign, we have new security measures, we have Going Green initiatives, we have, just so much happening in a multi-dimensional approach. I think that we are obviously closer than we've ever been before. And notice that these projects are teaming up together, just like with XRP in tandem with EWT Energy Web. Notice how they're actually complementary. That is exactly how this new future digital ecosystem will interoperate with central bank digital currencies, or even just fiat and digitized versions of it. And XRP is that medium of exchange. We will simply see. We have other things that act as operating systems like Overledger with Quant, QNT. It is all right in front of us. All I'm saying is we are, in the storm. We are going to get through it. Be strong, keep doing your own research, and enjoy the show.